So, welcome to Unity Now, the podcast where we discuss all things Unity 2020 with one goal in mind: increase awareness and grow the groundswell. As is the case with each new episode, we feel we must introduce our new listeners and viewers to Unity 2020. Unity 2020 is an idea that started when Bret Weinstein announced the plan on the Joe Rogan Experience in mid-June. From there, the movement was born, and since then, tens of thousands of volunteers have signed up, organized, and have begun to create a groundswell of support. From an original primary style vote that selected 6 nominees, the Unity 2020 movement has drafted Tulsi Gabbard and Dan Crenshaw to be our potential candidates, which we'll discuss here in a minute. To learn more and become a volunteer, visit articlesofunity.org. So with that, I am joined today by not only a fellow Unity 2020 volunteer, but a member of the steering committee and the very first volunteer for the movement, Heidi Day.
Hi.
Heidi, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. As we always say, thank you for taking the time. We know volunteering in a movement like this, or anything that's a volunteer-based sort of organization, takes a lot of time and effort, and we appreciate you taking just an hour or so with us to talk about this today.
Absolutely. And I want to set the record straight. First of all, Bret considers himself volunteer zero.
I was going to ask that. That's a good point. He is still technically a volunteer, right?
Yep.
Okay. So you're volunteer number 1 and he's 0?
Yeah.
Or you're
so
number 2?
He's the first volunteer, essentially.
Yeah, he kind of drafted himself by default, right? Right there on the Joe Rogan show. Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough. So I think that's the first question is kind of where you come from, what brought you here, and what made you the first volunteer. Did you just text Bret because you know him already? How'd that go?
No, I did not know Bret already. And the funny thing is, the first time that I talked to him, I had to get off my chest that I hated him in 2017. If you guys are obviously familiar with the Evergreen incident,
Mm-hmm.
I come from kind of a very left background that I've slowly, retreated from. But yeah, that was the first thing I told him. Was like, I'm just gonna let you know I absolutely hated you a few years ago. And he's like, good to know. So anyway, my background and how I got involved in this was I was an Andrew Yang supporter. And I actually worked for Andrew. And it's kind of a silly title, but I was the Yang Gang envoy. So I was essentially the ambassador to the Yang Gang. And so basically what I did was it was kind of a role where I acted as like a campaign surrogate. I was kind of the median person between our supporters and, the campaign. And if you watch any videos from Iowa, I'm introducing him a lot in Iowa. So I got a lot of hugs from Andrew Yang. But so, Bret announced his plan on Joe Rogan. And at that time, the candidates were, Andrew Yang was one of the candidates, and
right.
William McRaven. And it immediately obviously piqued the interest of Yang supporters, of the Yang Gang. And Bret had tweeted something about he tweeted something out about the episode, and we all kind of got in there and were asking him questions. And I just had one question. I was like, what's your ballot access plan? So this is back in probably mid-June. I think that's when that episode aired. And then a lot of the Yang Gang came in and was like, hey, we're really interested in this. Heidi's a person for you to talk to. And so we DM'd on Twitter. And from there, I got together something like 8 of Yang Gang supporters / volunteers that were like really instrumental to for Andrew Yang's campaign. I got us all together and we actually formed what is or was the core team. So basically, the core team worked with Bret to lay the foundation for unity. So everything that as unity was, kind of put forth by the core team. We created the Slack. We created, the Facebook group. I created the Twitter account that's now banned.
Oh, no.
Hi, Jack Dorsey. I'm a real person. I can verify myself, not a bot, whatever.
Yeah. I put that video together, actually, all the different supporters.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
not a bot.
I did one of those things, but I didn't do it right. So you guys didn't put me in it. But so yeah, I created the Twitter account. So our group, that's what we did is we laid the groundwork. And we kind of worked on preliminary strategy and, just getting volunteers together. Because, like, when Bret put his plan out there, everyone was basically saying, how can we help? How can we get involved? So coming from the Andrew Yang campaign, I was like, Bret, this is what we need to do. And, he was absolutely, he's and this is just how it works in politics. He is an amazing intellect, right? And so is Andrew. But just getting out there and talking, like, you'll just get lost, right? So you need the people that can hear you and then put it in motion. So that's what the core team did. That's my story and how I got involved.
That's fantastic. I think we all just got a peek behind the curtain at the Wizard.
Yeah.
That's great. And to let our audience know, you and I just met. We've never talked before. And you, again, graciously volunteered to come on a podcast with some guy you've never known from the middle of the country. And so, yeah, I'm a political rookie when it comes to, it sounds like, your experience. So how, and I'm curious, what is your take so far, given that at least the movement did not draft what were the original candidates he talked about? And so your guy, Andrew Yang, is not officially on the ticket. What do you think about that?
I committed early on right away that even if Andrew wasn't, the nominee, I was still going to be a part of it because, as much as I love Andrew, I saw the absolute need for what Bret was talking about, regardless of if the candidate was my former boss, my preferred candidate. So, when it came out that it was Tulsi and Dan Crenshaw, I was like, you know what? I like Tulsi, and Andrew likes Tulsi, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't upset. I was actually pretty excited. I'm a veteran, so Tulsi was always my second in the during the primary because she's another woman veteran, right? So I definitely, and Dan's a veteran as well. So I wasn't upset. Obviously, my politics are left leaning,
Mm-hmm.
but I absolutely loved the idea that we would bring together one person from the left and one from the right, and then have them work together because that's not possible anymore, right? You don't see that anymore. On the campfire with Justin Amash last week, it was something that he talked about was just it's partisan. There's no really, it's like you get your marching orders from, Nancy Pelosi or Mitch McConnell. And it's just, this has been probably the last 15 years. And I'm old enough to remember a time where it wasn't as bad. The first election I voted in was in 2000, but it's just become progressively partisan and now ideological, and it's scary. So I was on board with whoever the candidates were going to be, like, right off the bat, because I knew that there wasn't a way that we could go wrong, even just based on how Bret kind of laid it all out.
Yeah, it's good to hear you say that. I mean, I haven't found that to be the case where somebody says, "Well, I don't like these two candidates for any reason." They all seem to have the same kind of core answer where we all believed in a movement more than a set of policies or even a set of people that was get to supersede the movement. So I'm curious. You mentioned earlier, or you've mentioned, how you disliked Bret when you originally heard about him or was introduced to him. Was when did that kind of change for yourself start to take hold? Was that involved in getting set up with Andrew Yang in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a crazy story, but I credit coming across Andrew Yang and his campaign with kind of de-radicalizing me. I just found myself going further and further and further to the left, to the point where, like, Bret Weinstein was someone that I knew as bad, because that was this ideology I had fell into, right? So when I would see him on CNN and these students are, like, I was on the side of the students, like, I knew nothing about Bret Weinstein. And that was also kind of the, I guess, the party line, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is, like, this man he's a racist. He shouldn't be a professor. There was really no room for nuance. And that's something that I have kind of really come to love over the last year. It's like, everything is not black or white. Everything is not, and what's something I've come to realize that's really disturbing is that we speak in almost like religious terms, right? So religion has become kind of less of a force in our country. Kind of, people are just less religious. But now politics is almost religious in its, like, the way people are so fervent, about their beliefs, and also
Yeah.
the way they will absolutely, like, black and white everything. So, like, IDW, Bret Weinstein, and I'd never listened to an episode of Joe Rogan, but I knew he was bad, right? He was this alt-right meathead that thought he had an opinion, whatever. Never listened to him, but this was
Yeah.
my belief. And I like, Andrew Yang really just pulled one over on us because he made me listen to Joe Rogan, right? Because that's how you had to, like, that was like his most popular interview. Was like, oh my God, have you listened to Andrew Yang on Joe Rogan? So for the first time in my life, watch Joe Rogan. And then they're like, but his interview on Ben Shapiro is really good too. I was like, oh, okay. Or his interview with Eric Weinstein is really good. So in the interest of trying to listen to Andrew and hear his ideas, I ended up listening to a lot of people that I disagreed with, and it's embarrassing to say, but I didn't really have a nuanced reason to disagree with them. So if you'd have asked me, if anyone would have, like, asked me to go into depth about what I don't like about, the Weinsteins or Joe Rogan, I really couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Andrew Yang was kind of, because he was very much like, about data. He was very much anti-identity politics, which I had been caught up with, and I absolutely support, Black Lives Matter and, women's rights and LGBTQ rights. But it had gone so far to a point where I felt like we weren't helping anything. And I didn't even know that, like, it's like I didn't even understand that there was a different way. I just, because the other way was just like being a dumb Trump supporting Republican. Like I can't do that, right?
Right.
So it was just everything just very binary. And it's embarrassing to say, but now I consider myself slowly becoming more of a free thinker, less ideological and more open to listening to other people. Because 4 years ago, I was not going to listen to anyone I disagreed with. I was going to shout them down. And I was going to join, and I did, I'll join a mob against people that I don't like. And I look back and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I behaved that way. So it was through the Yang campaign, and then like even in being involved in Unity, like spending a lot of time with Bret, I've just like it's really opens my mind a lot. So
Yeah, that's very fascinating. It's if you were to, like you mentioned, 2016, if you rewind back to then, and if the two of us somehow crossed paths, you're in San Diego, I believe, right?
South Dakota.
South Dakota. I apologize, but either way, we're very far apart. I'm in Indiana. You're in South Dakota. Still pretty far apart. So
Midwest.
we might cross paths on social media, maybe that sort of thing. And I was the exact opposite. I was on Team Trump, and I was in that group think, and
Yeah.
we would have to immediately disagree with each other, and we've never met, and we've never had a
You and
conversation.
I would not be having this conversation right now.
Not in a million years, right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
And a lot of paths to this movement came through people like Joe Rogan and the IDW.
Yeah.
Mine was a little more indirect, where I found out about Joe Rogan and people like Jordan Peterson and Bret and Eric Weinstein before this election season kind of started.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I had to commit to paying attention to the Democrat candidates like Andrew and Tulsi. And I watched both of those interviews with Joe Rogan. And after that, I was willing to vote for one of the two of them. I think Andrew Yang was my top pick. And
Yang.
yeah, exactly. There's a lot of things I would agree with what he said, and he was reasonable and had a vision, and he's got a very analytical sort of mind, and thinks about problems and tries to attack them from a sound mindset and just using basic reasoning. And that's what kind of helped me also get into Unity 2020 as well. I think once it was, I saw how the machine of the DNC treated Tulsi and Andrew Yang and chewed them up, spit them out.
Yep.
And here we are. That's good.
One thing with Andrew was he would never he helped a lot of us that were like anti-Trumpers. Like he helped us kind of see, like I'm actually from a family of Trump supporters. So
Yeah.
I'm from Louisiana. So I did talk to my family a lot in the last 4 years until Andrew Yang, and they love Andrew Yang. But he basically said, there's no reason to demonize Trump supporters, and that's a failing strategy, right? Like the nail in the coffin for Hillary was like when she made her basket of deplorables comment. Like, how did that help anything? Like, you called half the country that you would have to be the president of a basket of deplorables.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, the facts are Democrats failed, in which I'm surprised that the DNC has embraced him even somewhat, because I listen to this guy on the trail 5 times a day, and he went hard on the Democrats. Like he will even be the one to say, look, he said President Obama broke my heart, right? Because we all thought we were getting this hope and change, right? And then like the financial crash of 2008 happened, and he bailed out the banks, right? And you can make an argument for bailing out the banks, but what about homeowners? Like, we just left them to rot, right? Like it. So people that are disillusioned with Democrats, and this is going far back, right? Like Joe Biden is like, one of the authors of the crime bill that mass incarcerated Black people, right? This goes far back. And so he was like, hey, maybe Trump supporters are humans as well, and that they saw this and they were like, no, right? Because Trump wasn't, a establishment Republican, right?
Right.
Like he came out of like the establishment was trying to put up their picks, right? And Trump came out of like nowhere and took the nomination, and the Democrats will do the same thing if they'd have picked Andrew as their candidate. It would have been similar to doing the same thing, but the Democrats won't do that. But yeah, so he helped kind of de-radicalize me, and at this point I could talk to all my family again, right? Like I see them again as reasonable people. I understand why they're voting the way they are, and honestly I like sympathize with a lot of what they're concerned with, so I have the same concerns.
Have you had any luck turning any of them on to Unity 2020?
Yes, they like the idea. It's they're like pretty firmly in the Trump corner.
I have the same challenges. Yes.
Yeah. So they're just very, very pro-Trump. That they're not where I am, where I'm kind of like, well, listen, outside the box. Like they like the idea. My mom will get excited if she sees something on the news about it. Like one time they saw me on CNN with Andrew, and they were like, they're so excited, told all their family. But as to like, do they support it over their candidate? They're not at that point. No.
Yeah. I think one of the messages, people talk about Trump's, the way he could rally people with just simple slogans or whatever it was. One of them was drain the swamp, right? We're going to drain the swamp. And at its core, maybe the idea you can translate into what Unity is kind of trying to do, and he's not really done. So I think that's what some of my family is still kind of sticking to. Like he's the solution. Mm-hmm. He's still trying to drain the swamp, and I think he's mad at merely a symptom. I think either Justin or Bret even mentioned that on that campfire.
Yeah,
he's a symptom of the problem.
Thing too was like Trump is not the problem; he's a symptom.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, my family, they do think that like from their perspective, they like what Trump's doing, and they want to give him 4 more years to finish. To finish the job. We definitely disagree on that, and they feel like Biden is an absolutely terrible candidate, and so they just feel like they have to stay in their corner there.
So on that, I think I have kind of like 2 questions, or maybe a 2-part question. Did you, supporting Andrew Yang and now supporting and helping create Unity 2020, did you feel that it was as emergent as some people feel, that one of these two, Biden or Trump, cannot be elected at all costs? Or did you feel like it's just even if one of them win, we have to keep going and it'll be okay if one of them win? Where do you stand on that?
No, it resonated with me right away. I mean, first of all, coming from the Yang campaign, we were a doomsday campaign already, right? We were like the happy doomsdayers, I guess, because Andrew's so cheery when he tells you horrible news about what's coming in the future. So when he dropped out, we were still just like, okay, he's not going to be president. But there's still so much on the horizon. Like his big thing was automation, right? That's still happening,
Right.
So it's kind of like with Unity as well. It's like whether we have candidates or ballot access or whatever, you have to keep fighting because these problems are still there, whether or not your preferred candidate, has won the nomination or the presidency. Like, it's Andrew kind of did, it's almost similar to Unity. Like, he didn't run for Congress, he didn't run for local office, and it was solely because he said it's too late, right? It's too late. Like, with climate change, it's too late. With automation replacing jobs, right now, if you go into Walmart, you're a Walmart employee because you're checking yourself out, right?
Yeah.
Self-driving trucks are, like, I think the only obstacle that's keeping them from being on the roads right now is they're still working on handling snow, right? So
Yeah.
you've got states like Arizona without snow that is like, hey, please come test on our highways, right? So what happens when you put millions of middle-aged men out of work, right? And that's what your average trucker is, right? A middle-aged, usually white male. What is he going to do when self-driving trucks are on the road? Is he going to learn to code? And that's our answer, right? It's like, no, he's not going to learn to code. He's 55 years old, and then coding is subjected to automation as well. So he was saying we're out of time. So, and Bret is, and Unity is saying the same thing. And these are, and they may be long shots, but they are literally long shot efforts to save our country because politicians are not paying attention. I mean, DC is a town of followers, not leaders, right? And Justin Amash basically said that, right? Like, they get their marching orders, they're followers. And, like, especially, like, in regards to technology, like, they don't even know what's going on. Like, they disbanded their Office of Technology in 1995. So they're flying without, like, real data, without analysis, without anyone advising them, because they're like, in 95, this thing's not going to take off. let's get rid of the Office of Technology. Right?
And then you watch them interview Mark Zuckerberg.
And you're just waiting for one of them to be like, can you help me change my Facebook password? Right? They don't know. So like, all these tech companies are getting to regulate themselves, right? They get to write their own rules. And like we've seen with like Twitter, like banning this account, right? This account I created, human being right here,
and now you can go. Have you seen their U.S. election? It seems to be new U.S. election page.
I am off of Twitter because I'm just sick of Twitter.
Good for you.
If you've watched Social Dilemma, the Netflix documentary, I'm pretty much done with all of these tech companies, to be quite honest. But so.
I was just going to say that it seems that if you're questioning where Twitter might stand, go to that new page. It's in the trending area. So they've got news, they've got like your trending, and then they got the official trending. There's a new one that's for the U.S. election. The first big banner that has been since Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away is, here are Trump's nominees for the potential open
trying to
spot.
rile people up, aren't they?
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, why is that relevant to the election besides to do that? But sorry. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
You're making some great points there.
Well, about 2 weeks ago, I got off Twitter because it literally, it rewards conflict. It rewards hate, it rewards ugliness. Like, if you and I'm very much, I don't believe in snark as a form of politics, and that's Twitter encourages that. But like Nancy Pelosi tearing up her, the State of the Union, tearing up the speech. That's not a form of governance, right? And it does is just, it doesn't help anything, right? So, and that's what Twitter is. Twitter is just like where snark is a form of it. Like you make an asshole comment to someone and you're going to get 50 likes and you're going to get that dopamine hit that'll make you keep coming back to Twitter and saying shitty things, right? The only reason I was on Twitter was because the Yang Gang figured out how to use Twitter for Andrew Yang, right? We figured out how to work with their algorithms to get his name out there and to get him trending. And so that's also what I was helping Unity with. But the weird thing is the things that we were able to do for Andrew, we are not able to do for Unity. Like, they cracked down like right away. They're like, you're not going to follow the Yang Gang playbook, right? We're going to,
right.
Yeah. It was just like, nope, you're not going to do that. So, no.
Do you think they didn't notice the Andrew Yang thing, or maybe because he was on the Democrat ticket, or I don't know. What do you make of that?
Jack is Yang Gang, for one. His parents are too, right? So I think that, they were sympathetic. Which I don't know. I can't say that there was some kind of controversy or if they've just in recent months like cracked down on people being able to, like trend like we always did. Yeah. I don't know if there was a crackdown or if there was some looking the other way for the Yang Gang or what. But either way, it just seems really weird and off that a tech, there's like an app can control the news narrative and like public discourse, and like they can sit behind the curtain with their dials and we don't know what they're doing or what they're like. There's an app where you can go and see, like you can input your username and it'll run like some tests and it'll show like, oh, your replies are being deboosted. In other words, your reply is sitting under a see more. Someone would have to click that to see your reply. And like all of our Unity accounts were constantly being, deboosted or shadow banned, and yeah, I don't know what to make of it, but it seems like it's not fair play because, like I said, I went through this with the Yang Gang, right? And we were good at Twitter, nothing else. We were good at Twitter, but those avenues are really not open to Unity.
Yeah, I think that's, I experienced the same thing on just my personal account. It's been there for a while. And I was helping that day with that hashtag that was trending on the day the article's account was suspended.
Yeah.
I had a lot of replies that I didn't even know about. I never received one notification about a single reply. And the last one was the official, you're a Russian bot. Somebody.
Oh, you saw that one.
Yeah, I was accused of that myself.
Yeah, me too. Like my profile picture is me and Andrew Yang, but
you're a bot.
I'm a bot. Yeah. So, and that's what it is you were probably, because, like part of it is like reply with the hashtags. So all of these Unity accounts were being deboosted. So no one was seeing their replies, right? Because somebody quickly picked up on, Unity's trying to trend, and they shut it down, So
yeah, and so we've set up flag bearer accounts, and we can we've had that on the last episode we talked about, and we can put that in the description as well because it's, I don't know how many days officially. I think we're at around 3 weeks, something like that, right? Since it's been suspended.
Sure. Yeah,
with no official response from Twitter as to why.
Nope.
With even Bret's brother Eric, I think having some maybe backdoor conversations with Jack Dorsey directly. Yeah. Still no movement there. So
no, and it's what still I find very just generic. Like you registered a whole bunch of accounts, and it's like, how do you know? Like, are you in our private conversations? Like, what? Right. Show me that. It sounds like something that requires intent. And how are you? Like, I don't know, whatever. But no, and they don't have to care, right? Like, there's I'm trying to think of his name, but like somebody that worked for Kamala's campaign that works for Twitter now, and it's just like, that they're over there like just doing everything they can, or I don't know. I probably shouldn't say it because I don't have the evidence either, but like you saying with this this banner being about who Trump's going to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg with, like it just seems like they're just behind the scenes just pulling a lot of levers in the favor of Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we don't know that for sure, right? Because we don't
have any
evidence.
Know that for sure. No.
We wouldn't want to make evidence decisions based on no evidence.
I just know that my experience with Twitter being part of the Yang Gang and then for Unity are two different things. Like I said, maybe it's that they cracked out. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they, it's different. It's not like it was long ago. Like, I don't know. We trended to get Andrew on the DNC stage, right? Like when they kind of rebuffed him. He thought he was going to have his, he was going to be able to speak at the DNC, and then they didn't. He wasn't on the roster, so the Yang Gang just got out there, and we trended "Let Yang Speak" DNC, and we trended it, and you know what? They let him speak. So I don't know.
Well, where do we go from here? So it's we're filming this Sunday, the 20th of September. We're now approaching what would be the 1 month mark until the voting day. We're almost there within a couple weeks. We have the official presidential debate coming up in 9 days. That's removed everyone except for the top two candidates. Is it too late for 2020? Justin Amash kind of hinted at that. Not hinted at it. He blatantly said it on the campfire with Bret. That ballots are already being printed, that sort of thing. So yeah, are we too late?
So I'm definitely gonna be real here. Yes, ballots are being printed. Like my own state is, I can go vote right now, right? There is like the tiny chance that, say, the Greens or the Libertarians decided to partner with us, that, they could explain to their, to voters that, hey, like if you cast a vote for, Joe or Howie, that it would be counted towards the Unity ticket. And then, like when the electors come together in December and actually cast their ballots, right? I think it's December 12th, because it's the electors, that electoral college, right? That elects the president. And they could, with instruction, vote for, Tulsi and Dan, right? They could vote for anyone, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, that's just it. Like, literally, I don't think I'm saying this incorrectly, but they could decide on their own that this is not, Trump and Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Joe Biden is terrible, and like totally elect someone else on their own, like faithless electors. So there is a chance that if that were to happen, that, for whatever reason, because like, for instance, like, recently the Green Party, the Democrats fought and had them removed from the ballot in 2 states, right? Like, so literally, if everyone joins forces, right? Like, because everybody's mad, and libertarians, like, they're not letting Joe on the stage, right, to debate. She is on the ballot in 50 states, right? So if people came together, and like, that is never too late, right? If they came together and said, hey, this is, what we want, then that's, but definitely it is a long shot. And I personally am someone that I'm not afraid. Like, this is why I worked for Andrew Yang. He was considered longer than a long shot. I'm not afraid. And especially when the stakes are so high, right? Mm-hmm. When we're like, there's so much turmoil right now. We have two elderly, just not fit for the presidency candidates. Like, the primary process, the electoral process, should make the cream of the crop rise to the top, right? These are two of the best people we had to offer, right? It's failed us, and it's failing us in ways that are like on an existential threat level. It's not small potatoes anymore. Like, we literally have people rioting in the streets. California, or the West Coast, is on fire. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Hurricanes seem to want to make it out. Like, my family's all in Louisiana, right? Hurricanes are like, we're totally, Mother Nature is like, I'm getting in on 2022, right?
Right.
Like, if there ever was a time to fight, it is literally right now.
That was going to be my immediate response was, did you get involved with the Yang campaign only because you thought you would win, or because you thought it was the right thing to do?
It was the right thing to do. Like, we always knew that it was a long shot, right? He was this unknown person, right? He had no, like, he wasn't not DNC ordained, right? Like, he didn't have their backing to run. He was blacked out by the media. Like I literally sat in a stadium in Iowa for their Liberty and Justice Dinner, and they're playing this video where they're just trying to get everybody's supporters pumped up, right? And they're playing like that Thunder song by is it Led Zeppelin or not Led Zeppelin? I don't know. Anyway,
AC/DC.
AC/DC, yeah. And then they're showing clips of like all the supporters, right? And we're just like, there's like 1,000 of us in the stands, right? We came from all over the country. We were like a loud presence there. And we were waiting to start screaming when they showed like the Yang Gang, and they did not. They showed every other support, like down to Tom Steyer, maybe. I don't know. Like, there was some like really no-name candidates at that point. This was November last year. And like, they just nothing, Yang Gang, nothing. And we had been like, we spent the whole day just rallying, and it's intentional. If you're not there, if you're not sanctioned by them, they're gonna ignore you. So we got to see it firsthand, and it was heartbreaking. And it was like just clear that we were doing this because it was the right thing, and we were gonna have to fight and fight and fight. And did we want to win? Yes. Did we think we were gonna win? Like I said, there was just so many forces like against us, just trying to just keep his name out of the news, trying to the media would not talk about him. They would like leave him off of graphics, for when the debates, they feel like there's 10 people in the debate stage, right? That would be like the headline of like an ad they're running, and then they would have 9 pictures, right? 9, and we're like. And then to add to it, there'd always be a little space on the end where it looked like they could put the 10th person. So we're just like, your ad says 10 people on the debate stage, right? Why did you just put 9 pictures? It was just so blatant. So we always knew we were fighting
the graphic,
the battle, and unity is the same.
Yeah, whoever ran that graphic had deleted the 10th, but forgot to respace it out evenly. Something.
Yeah,
something
like
so
there was always
that.
like that space. It was like. Or when they were doing like election results, and one of them they put like other, like they had like each candidate and their picture and like how much percentage they got, and then for the other they had like the silhouette of Andrew Yang. Just gonna, and one time they even put like this guy, which this is racist to be honest. They put this guy who was not Andrew Yang in their like
Really?
images. Yes. This is like they all Taiwanese Americans don't look alike, right? Did you guys actually make sure you got the right guy? It was blatant. And it's the same thing here. The things that they're doing to Unity to try and stop us is blatant. And they love it. They're just like, what are you going to do about it? We own this shit.
Yeah. And maybe I don't know if it's a conservative response. There's something in me that always says, well, they're their own company. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. That's pretty easy to say, right? But it's like, there's so many users, so many people that are affected by that information. Like there are, I don't know did you know this? There are alternate social media places like Parallels. Have you ever heard of Parallels?
No. I've heard of Parler.
Or Parler, I'm sorry. Yeah, Parler.
Oh, yeah, so, the Twitter alternative. I'm nervous to go there.
But, and it's probably, it's got like probably 10 people by now or so. I'm not sure. It's not very active as far as I can tell. So you can do that, but you have to convince the whole entire rest of the country to also do it as go there.
Yeah,
right.
And this is why they're scared of Joe Rogan, because he is his own like he can compete with CNN.
Right.
Like on his viewership, like he's his own independent media company. And so they want to like constantly call him out and silence him. Like our Facebook group, we got a notice yesterday that we would be potentially downgraded, right? Where people wouldn't see posts in our group as often, or, like they would kind of like, like alter their, whatever, their algorithms and their mechanisms, whatever, to make it where people wouldn't see our group as much. And it was because people were sharing the video of Joe Rogan with Douglas Murray, I think his name is,
I think
from a few days ago. And it's because Facebook censored the entire video as false information, right? The whole video. All because of one statement that Joe Rogan made. So Joe Rogan is like screwing like with my Facebook group or with our Facebook group by his one statement where he said, what did he say? Like the liberals are starting fire, not leftists maybe are starting fires intentionally.
And I only heard about that when I saw the apology that he posted come through. Yeah.
But he makes them nervous, and they do everything they can to punish him and try and control him. And so this was just like, like they friggin' censored his video as false information. Like, are they really like that level of fact checking is almost like scary, because they just totally canceled the whole video, right? Because of one statement.
Probably 3 hours.
Yes, Rogan's videos are 3 hours. Yeah. So are they watching everything that's on social media, like hours of videos like that? And like, what kind of friggin' nanny state you're watching every second of every video uploaded to your platform to like for the tiniest bit of like, false news or misinformation? And like, I mean, if they fact check this video, I might have said all kinds of stupid shit, and then you guys will get shut down. It's terrifying.
That's true, and to a lot of people's points, maybe that's when we've really reached a certain audience, right? We've really done some good. We're starting to get noticed.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Maybe that should be all of
our. As long as nobody fact checks this, that's our barometer.
Well, you're a Russian bot anyway, so
so we know.
Yeah, we should censor the
Russia's
video.
in my backyard,
Right. Well, you were talking about what they did with Yang and all those efforts by the DNC, and then there's what Tulsi went through, right? She had to sue Google because of her ads account was shut down when she was trending, and then if you think Hillary mentioned that she's a potential Russian operative, and that was just an accident.
And Hillary knows better than that. That was just so intentional.
Right.
Just planting the seed.
Yeah. And so here we are. And with Joe Biden, there's no guarantee he's actually going to be the president, right? If he gets elected, could be Kamala in a couple months, could be here in a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also a dangerous point there.
Yeah, that's how I see it. Is I think that Joe, he's just not there. He's not, like, I feel awful when I listen to him talk. I'm like, this feels like elder abuse, right? Whoever put him in front of this camera, right? So he's going to be there a year, maybe two, but probably not longer than that because they want the incumbent advantage, right? So, like, he's going to step down, and then Kamala, who was rejected, by the American people in the primary process, will be president. And then, she'll finish out his term, and then she gets 8 years as president.
True.
Yeah.
So
that was who they wanted initially anyway, but the American people rejected her.
And they found a way.
Yeah, they found a way. They did. They're like, let's get Biden in there. Not saying people didn't vote for Biden, but you're kidding yourself if you don't think that also there's not deals and strategy and like, and they in 2016 they said the DNC can do this. It's within their rights to totally rig an election or to do all this crooked shit to get their guy in. It's within their rights. God bless America.
Yeah. So we're a little late. Ballots are being printed.
Yes.
Right? And there's all this trouble that we just talked about. So people should not join the movement, right? It's too far gone. It's too far lost. Or is there still hope?
Please join the movement, because as long as the problem exists, we have a mission, right? Like, even in the case of Andrew Yang did not win the nomination. But you know what? The robots are still coming. All the things that he foresaw, like, are still, like, he was one of the first politicians to even take notice of, like, the pandemic. And he's like, back in January, he's like, oh, this is going to be bad, right? He's the only one saying that. Everyone else was trying to downplay it, right?
Everyone else had to check with their team and say, what are we saying
they're like,
on this?
can we say this? Can we say it? Yeah. But Andrew's like, oh shit, this is going to be bad. He just tweets whatever comes into his mind. And he tweeted that out. He's like, this coronavirus is going to be bad, right? Yeah. Back in January. So the thing is Andrew lost, but these things are still coming. Like, we're still, like, fighting. Like, he was a universal basic income advocate. We still need to do something about the fact that we're going to put millions and millions and millions of Americans out of work, right? All these things are still problems. You still have to fight, right? Like, whether or not we're on the ballot, and, it's still, there's still, 40 days. Crazy shit can happen. The Electoral College meets in December. Even crazier things can happen. And, like, if the Electoral College, like, could all of a sudden develop a conscience, like, all these people develop a conscience and be like, no, we can't do this, right? As long as these problems are there, we have to keep fighting, right? Like, right now, our nation is in peril. And you think about it, like, and this is something Bret says, like, both parties are playing this really cynical game of, like, inflaming their wings, right? Trump is dog whistling to his far right supporters, and Biden and the DNC and the Democrats have come down really in support of and in favor of basically all of the protests and the riots in the streets. And come November, if one of them is elected, you're going to have one side that was, like, fucked with, sorry, can I say that word? Edit that out. That was messed with unnecessarily and cynically. That's going to be really, really mad with the election results. So, like, the problems that Bret saw are the problems that we all see, and they are not, I don't see that anyone is, I haven't seen them get, lesser since he came out with this in June. It's only gotten worse, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't see this ending well. Just like study history. Like if you look at the history of like the Bolshevik Revolution, it's terrifying, and we're kind of running a little parallel to that. So I do something, right? Join Unity, get out there. Whether or not whatever happens in November happens, we still have to fight, and we have to live to fight another day. And thinking about 2024 to me is too far in the future, right? Like we don't know if there's a 2024, but there's still, regardless of this election, the emergency situation is still there, and we still have to be like an option people look to, right? Like say the electoral college is like, okay, this is weird, we can't do this, this is going to tear the country apart. Or say something happens to Biden or something happens to Trump, like we still need to be there as like the backup option at least, right?
Uh-huh.
But we have to keep fighting because, like I said, these problems are just getting worse by the day.
Yeah, the way I try to make it simpler, at least when I'm describing what peril I believe we're in, is that if you and you have to follow the right social media or watch the right news, whatever it may be, but the people that would be upset if Trump's elected are already feeling that it's within their power to take to the streets, to riot, to burn things down, to go up to people in restaurants that are trying to just sit there and eat and mess with their day. And how do you think they'll react if Trump actually wins? And then if Biden wins, the people that would not be happy, right? Well, and they own most of the guns.
Yes.
So
yeah. Either way, it's not good.
It's not good. Yeah, and that's kind of how I look at it. So
yeah, and we have to work towards like we have to keep like this was our plan, right? And whether or not this actually is works, if it becomes like the break glass in case of emergency, last ditch effort, whatever, we have to keep like trying to stabilize and normalize. And like our politicians, like I said, cynically are not trying to do that because they're trying to win an election, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have to just work towards like opening people up to the idea that maybe that this is a lot of just cynical manipulation, and that we don't have to be this way. We don't like anymore. If Trump takes a stance on something, it is by the rules that Democrats have to take the opposite stance. Anymore, if I see like your average liberal, I know everything they believe, right? Or your average Republican, I know everything they believe. Like they just have to stake out the opposite stance. And this is dangerous. This is tribalism. This is extreme partisanship. Like we have to fight back against that. We have to be the reasonable voice. We have to be the adults in the room. And we have to like all options have to be on the table, right? Like
yeah, well said. So on our time here, I think we're about where we normally end, unless you'd like to keep going.
Nobody wants to hear another one of my monologues.
We can shoot for a Joe Rogan couple more hours.
3 hours. I don't know how that man does it. Is it DMT?
Yeah, really, right?
I don't know.
No. Sometimes he's just high or drunk right there, and I don't know. We're not drinking though.
No.
But final thoughts from you, Heidi, on kind of where we're going, what volunteers that are currently in the movement they need to focus on, and how do we bring in even more and more people and keep growing the groundswell?
Well, from what I understand, we're gonna have we had a call with Bret earlier today, and we've actually been working So there's going to be some information coming out soon about new information in the direction of where Unity 2020 is going. Again, I'm not at liberty to speak on that. But
it's just you and me talking.
Okay. Stop acting like we're not recording. But in my role, like you guys probably don't see me a lot because after we did the initial work, I kind of stepped back and I'm more advisory. While like most of the steering does, and they're awesome. They do the bulk of the work. But we need to keep talking to people. We need to keep encouraging civil discourse. We need to keep opening their eyes. The video from Joe Rogan that Bret did is powerful, whether or not it's a viable option. You can watch that a year from now and be like, holy shit, this is good. I need to get involved with this, right? So it's not necessarily obviously we've been heavily focused on the presidential election, and we're not taking our eye off of that. But we have to keep in mind that whether or not something works out in that regard, the problems are still here, and we still have to work towards saving our country, essentially. So just keep talking to people, invite them to the Facebook group, stay active on Twitter. Twitter is where your politicians are. Tweet at them. It's where the media is. Tweet at them. Voters are not on Twitter. There's only something like 20%, I think, of Americans that are on Twitter. So if you're trying to reach voters, that's not really the medium. It's more like Instagram, Facebook. But you get media attention. And that was a huge thing for us with the Yang campaign, was this is how we would get the media, right? And then once you get the media attention on Twitter, then you're on CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or something like that. So just like I said, all options have to be on the table. We have to work our asses off still.
That's great. That's great insight about Twitter. I never really thought about it like that. But okay. Well, Heidi, thanks so much again for joining me. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for having me, and let's do this again soon.
Absolutely. So with that, we'll end it. And as Heidi said, go ahead and go to articlesofunity.org to learn about the movement and sign up, become a volunteer, and get involved. Check out our Facebook group, the official Articles of Unity Facebook group, and check out the Unity Now podcast on all the social media platforms. And with that, we will see you on the next episode. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Bye.